Some of Lustria's most iconic inhabitants are the immense flying reptiles known as Terradons. These majestic beasts glide through the air on leathery wing membranes composed of skin, muscle, and densely packed fibers, perfectly exemplifying the continent as a land left behind in time. Indeed, they predate the arrival of the Old Ones themselves. Alongside behemoths such as carnosaurs, dragons, and dragon ogres, the humble Terradon can be considered part of the Warhammer world's native fauna. Of course, despite their relatively small size compared to these other primeval species, Terradons are still impressive creatures. Their colorful crests and piercing calls command respect, and their wingspan is dozens of feet wide. They are both immensely quick and graceful while on the wing, flying through dense jungles at breakneck speeds without clipping a single tree, branch, or vine. It is little wonder that Terradons have dominated the skies for as long as they have, turning aside all challengers to their position as one of Lustria's preeminent airborne predators. Terradons spend most of their time soaring high above the jungle canopy in search of prey. Their wings can catch the slightest breeze and glide in it for hours with minimal effort, letting the reptiles coast on the warm thermal currents of Lustria and the Southlands for days without rest. A Terradon's keen eyesight lets it pick out potential meals from this lofty perch, detecting even the slightest motion through the jungle's thick canopy and thicker gloom. These carnivorous reptiles hunt man-sized prey, descending from the heavens like a saurian thunderbolt before savaging the victim with their razor-sharp beak and needle-like teeth. If their would-be meal manages to fend off this initial assault, the Terradon will snatch them up with their talons and launch skyward with a downstroke of their massive wings. Terradons will carry these unfortunates hundreds of meters up in mere seconds before dropping them to an ignoble end on the forest floor. The beasts will then grab the ruined mess and retreat to a safe perch to feast upon the remains at their leisure. In addition to hunting live prey, Terradons are notorious egg thieves. Their sharp beaks are excellent at piercing the leathery shells of Lustria's many egg-laying inhabitants, giving them access to the nutrient-rich contents within. Some particularly large eggs are too tough for the Terradons to pierce with their natural armaments, however. When confronted with such a challenge, the Terradons will fall back to their usual solution to problems. They'll grab it, fly above the canopy, and drop it. Even a Dreadsaurian's egg fares little better than a Norscan Marauder when dropped from 800 feet up, and both fill the Terradon's stomach just as readily. Skinks have taken to riding Terradons into battle, using them as swift, aerial skirmish cavalry in Lizardmen armies. Taming one for such a task is easier said than done. Adults are unruly and temperamental creatures, and training one for use in war is borderline impossible. Their young, however, are a different story. If a skink races a juvenile Terradon, the two will form a bond that cannot be broken in life. The process needs to start early, ideally while the Terradon is still in the egg. Capturing said eggs is a difficult task, considering the reptile's aggressive nature and habit of nesting hundreds of feet above the ground, but the rewards are well worth the risk. Terradon riders are highly valued as messengers and scouts by the Lizardmen, providing crucial intelligence to the children of the Old Ones. A unit of Terradon riders can weaken enemy forces before battle is joined, peppering the foe with poison javelins and explosive fire-leech bolas. Their natural maneuverability allows them to dart in and out of danger before eventually closing in for the kill and melee. These units are commanded by Sky Leaders, the most skilled and experienced Terradon rider in the group. In addition to harnessing their airborne grace and ferocious battle skill, the Lizardmen have utilized the Terradon's instinctive talent for grabbing immense eggs. It's kind of like how a chameleon will automatically grab stick-shaped objects in front of them. Terradons can't help but grab large spherical objects. The flying reptiles will carry large, masonry boulders inscribed with glyphs of fortune and destruction into battle, ready to drop them at their rider's command. The Terradons are incredibly accurate with their rocks, capable of hitting a target from thousands of feet in the air. When they release them, these rocks act as an avalanche of death, capable of burying orc war bosses and demonic commanders beneath a literal ton of masonry. The process of stealing a Terradon egg, raising the hatchling to adulthood, and mastering the art of aerial warfare is a time-consuming process, to say the least. As such, only skinks unburdened by magical obligations can hope to ride one. Skink priests are never found on Terradon back, instead focusing their energy on assisting the Slann and interpreting the world around them. Skink chiefs, on the other hand, are more than happy to tame a Terradon. Indeed, the most prestigious position a skink chief can reach, a Temple City's Master of Skies, is attained by being the most competent Terradon rider in the city. These individuals only answer to the Salon and skink priests themselves, granting a degree of autonomy unheard of among other skinks. While this isn't as rewarding as a lizardman as it would be for a human or elf, it's certainly not bad either. This freedom comes with a host of responsibilities, however, and a Master of Skies can find themselves responsible for an entire city's defense. Tiktaq'to, Hexawaddle's Master of Skies, led the city's defense for several days before the Salon could finally be roused and take command of the situation in the year 2521 of the Imperial calendar. In Total War Warhammer, Terradon riders act as flying skirmish cavalry on the Lizardmen roster, much like in the lore. They come in two flavors, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Generic Terradon riders, weighing in at 600 gold in multiplayer, are the cheaper variety. They throw poison javelins that deal a lot of non-armor piercing damage. There aren't a lot of Terradons in the unit though, so it takes them a lot of time to do any meaningful damage to even lightly armored infantry blocks. Against large, lightly armored opponents, however, they really come into their own. Terradon riders are excellent at peppering down enemies like giants, Illyrian reavers, and minotaurs, nerfing their stats with poison, and whittling down their health with a constant bombardment of javelins. The other Terradon rider variant is equipped with Fireleech Bolas. They cost 750 gold in multiplayer, which is a bit more expensive, but they're worth it. While the Fireleech Bolas will eventually get its own video, all you need to know right now is that they explode. Total War Warhammer has done a great job capturing this, and they deal damage in a decent area of effect. While they're still not armor-piercing, Terradon riders with Fireleech Bolas are extremely dangerous for lightly armored infantry. They can quickly blow apart whole blocks of clan rats or spearmen, letting the rest of your army move on to more valuable targets. It's even better when you can target expensive lightly armored infantry, such as Witch Elves or Exalted Demonettes, as they die just as surely as Skaven slaves to the explosive power of the Fireleech. There's even a blessed variant of the Terradons with Fireleech Bolas, with slightly more hit points and a lot of additional speed. If you can't tell, I'm partial to the Fireleech Bolas Terradon riders over the generic variation, as I think the role they fill is just more valuable in most fights. Plus, I'm a sucker for Blessed Lizardmen units. DLC Blessed units when, CA? Despite the differences mentioned above, the Terradon riders have a lot of similarities. Both can Vanguard deploy, have good speed, and can fire while moving in a 360-degree arc. This helps them fulfill their duty as skirmish cavalry. Generic and Fireleech Bolas Terradons can also drop rocks, giving them a one-time ability that does decent work against even heavily armored infantry. It won't delete a unit like a Comet of Cassandora, but it's not bad by any means. On the flip side, however, both variants possess the same weaknesses. They have really short ranges, ensuring they'll be outranged by any missile unit around. Combined with their pitiful armor value of 15 and minuscule missile resistance, Terradons do not fare well against enemies with a large range contingent. Also, their abysmal melee defense and melee attack makes them vulnerable in melee combat. If Terradons get caught by an enemy air force, they're in for a bad time. Be warned that, if you want to get maximum value out of these guys, you'll need to babysit them. A lot. With proper micro, however, they can be a vital part of your army. Terradons are also a mount option for skink chiefs and skink priests in-game. This makes your heroes highly maneuverable, capable of responding to threats in a moment's notice. They still aren't great in melee combat, but their body blocking potential and spells can help make up for that. Skink Priest on Terradons contradicts the lore, but it's not a huge deal breaker. Plus, it means you can cast the Amber Spear on enemies while flying, which is very satisfying to me. For that dopamine hit alone, I'll take a bit of lore and accuracy. As with all Warhammer dinosaurs / dinosaur adjacent creatures, I'd love to do a phylogenetic overview of Terradons. Unfortunately, my basic paleontology education doesn't extend to Pterosaur cladistics, and after a thorough look through the literature I could access on Google Scholar, I can confidently say that I am way out of my depth here. If anyone has more digestible representations of Pterosaur phylogeny than a bunch of highly specific scientific papers, I would love to hear about them, and read them, but as it stands, I feel like I need to get a whole master's to give an accurate assessment of where Terradons fall within the Pterosaur family tree. They may superficially resemble Pteranodons, but game designers are notorious for not caring for those small but crucial details that would place Terradons in the same group. I can, however, point out that Terradons are likely highly derived pterosaurs. While not synapomorphies, there are certain traits that are only present in derived pterosaurs. Every piece of Terradon art shows that they would possess elaborate long crests and long necks, which are commonly seen in more advanced pterosaurs, but are absent in basal species. While some artwork shows that they have long tails, modern representations depict pterodons with short tails, another trait of derived pterosaurs. The retention of teeth indicates that pterodons aren't among the most derived species, as the very last pterosaurs to soar through the skies were completely toothless, but this doesn't make them basal by any means. With that, we've completed our overview of pterodons. This is the last free video of our Tic-Tac-Toe week, having been preceded by the Blade of Ancient Skies and Mask of Heavens. My Tic-Tac-Toe video, covering the skink's history, deeds, and role in Total War Warhammer, will be releasing on my Patreon on Friday, September 1st. It's only $5 and over 20 minutes long, so if any of that caught your interest, I highly encourage you check it out. If the concept of paying for videos wilts your soul like it does mine, you can also just wait a while. The Tic-Tac-Toe overview will be released for free, here on the YouTube channel in late December as an end-of-year present to everyone as a celebration for making it around the sun one more time. In the meanwhile, I hope you enjoyed all the recent Tic-Tac-Toe focused content. If you want to see me do another, similarly in-depth character overview in the future, don't be afraid to comment it down below. I can't cover characters that have a whole bunch written about them, as I simply don't have time to write a thorough overview of Tyrion or Vlad von Karstein to my standards in a timely fashion, but it's open season on other, minor characters. As always, suggestions from my Patreon members will carry extra weight. That's all for today though, so until next time, this has been Sigmar's Chosen, signing off for now.